Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing Violation, which is going to be streaming, or is streaming now, on Shudder. We love Shudder. All right, joining me, yes, we do. Joining me this week is the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Did you see anything special this week? All right,
I did.
I did.
It made me feel insecure.
Insecure.
But,
Yes.
Yeah.
So envious. All right. Let's also joining us is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. Crystal, how you doing?
Good. Now that's all I can picture in my head. And when we get to this, movie, you'll understand why and what we're talking about. It's something you can't miss.
No, you can't.
No.
You are not allowed to miss it. It is not presented in a way that it can be missed.
No, it's right
there. Right there. This movie is shocking. But there's a lot to this movie. It's going to be a lot to discuss and a lot to kind of get through. Violation. Let's take a look.
Innocence lost. Yeah.
Innocence lost. Yes. Violation streaming on Shudder beginning March 25th, 2021. Director and writers Dusty Mancinelli and Madeleine Sims Fewer, I presume. Cast is Madeleine Sims Madeleine Sims Fewer, Anna Maguire, Jesse LaVercombe. Those French Canadians. All right. I have trouble with names. If you are watching the show, you know that. All right. Synopsis is: a troubled woman on the edge of divorce returns home to her younger sisters after years apart. But when her sister and brother-in-law betray her trust, she embarks on a vicious crusade of revenge. That description describes a linear film, but not necessarily this film.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, poking aside, that was last week.
It works for this one too, though.
It kind of does. All right. So what we're going to do, if I don't go completely off the rails here, is we're going to give our first impressions, our score 1 to 5, and then, that's later. We're going to give our first impressions, then we're going to talk about the film, and then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, a score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. So stick around for that. You definitely want to hear that. All right. This film, Crystal, I'm going to have to go with you first because
of course
we need your perspective.
I think it's good to have a woman's perspective.
I think so because.
Oh God, as I'm trying to.
All right.
Okay.
What is your first impression of Violation?
Okay. So when this movie started out, they did the one thing that it's my least favorite style of filmmaking, and it bothers me to my core, and that is shaky hand shots. Like that's all they had. Actually, I think practically the entire movie is shot that way. However, I'll get to that at a point later on. But I mean, I think they used it to try to make what would be incredibly boring and tedious to just sit through and watch seem more exciting. I literally hate it to my core, at my being. Are handheld shots important? Yes. Do they have their place? Yes, but not throughout an entire freaking movie. It is just, and I know all these new filmmakers are doing this and they think it's good or they think it's avant-garde, but it is just so distracting and so it takes away from the movie. Anyway, that being said, that's where I started with this movie and was watching it and was like, God, I can't wait for this movie to be over. And then the shots got steadier. So there was a lot of steady cam. I almost wonder if they, maybe since it's the two directors, maybe they switched, or I don't know if they worked as DP as well, but it was rough. Anyway, but then the movie got into some really wild, weird, interesting chaos. And the shots got steadier, like I said. And I actually found myself super interested in what was happening in the movie. Now, the movie is definitely told out of order, out of sequence. It jumps back and forth from place to place. It's relatively simple to know where you are. We talked about it a little bit before. I do think there are some points where it's difficult to kind of place the timeline, but for the most part, it makes sense. And you think the story is going one way and it goes another. And I actually, by the end of this film, I found myself really entertained. I enjoyed it. So I started off hating it and then got roped in.
Got roped in.
Somewhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay.
Give it some time is what I would say. I think a lot of people hate that style of filmmaking. I don't know if y'all noticed it, but it was just very jarring to me. And so I think some people might find themselves, it's not a slow burn, but it does start off kind of slow.
Yeah.
And then they do some weird shots, like the turning shots. And there were some shots they did a lot of B-roll. And I think a lot of it was filler, which, fine. You want to make a full-length feature. I get it. You have B-roll. And I think they took some stylistic choices with that, which I felt were just trying to be stylistic as opposed to good filmmaking.
It did feel that way. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, Jeff, sir. What was your first impression of Violation?
Well, so the shaky thing that you're talking about, I didn't even notice it. I'm trying to picture it. I didn't even notice it. So, but I felt like the nonlinear timeline ended up being confusing to me. I kept having to try to figure out, is this happening in sequence with what we just saw, or is this before? I couldn't. There's a lot of times, if I had more time, I might have watched it again to try to sort that out. But in the end, I was totally confused on. There were characters that were no longer there, and it didn't seem to me like people were acting or reacting the way I would have expected. Like, why isn't there a bigger deal about this? But in terms of I would actually love to see this in sequence because what happens throughout the course of the movie is ingenious, extremely methodical and picky and tedious, but really cool, I thought. Kind of an ingenious sort of plot. We get, I don't know why Crystal didn't talk about it, but we get your basic.
Well, I just thought we would work our way into that because it's.
Well, all right. Well, I'll let Doc talk about it because he likes talking about that stuff.
What?
What? No, it's we get the full Monty. We get the full.
It's
male
not.
nudity,
It's so much
and
more
it's
than
an erection.
that.
It's so much more than that, and it's long period. It's a pretty long period on the screen. Yeah. Yep. So, I've said before, I think that horror movies are like out in the front of showing that in relation to men. In the past, most movies kind of go the female route, and this takes a big leap forward, so to speak. I think it looks good. I like a lot of the shots, but
you probably should have said it looks good right after what you were just talking about.
Yeah, that could be.
I'm just kidding.
The film looked good. Well, I can appreciate the film looks good. It's well shot. The nonlinear story, and usually that stuff doesn't bother me. I mean, one of the most famous ones, I suppose, is Pulp Fiction, but this one, it just was there was too many of them, and I ended up getting kind of confused as to what was happening when in sequence.
All right, so yeah, this film frustrated me, but it's not the story or the message. It's the structure. It's the filmmaking in and of itself that I have qualms with. I found the non-linear storytelling not
Your
presented in
volume's
a
kind of
way.
down, Doc. I'm sorry.
Oh, is it?
Oh, see, I felt like he's.
Okay. Well, I'll just continue. Hopefully, you're hearing me. I feel that it was presented in a way that was hard to follow, and there was often times when I didn't really know if we were in the present, the past, or where we were actually, and I really got lost. Basically, we have four characters. We have the lead character and her husband, and they're having trouble, and we have her sister, and then her husband, and there's all kinds of melodrama. It takes a while to get to the horror in this. Now, the horror is there when it gets there, and it's bold in the choices that it makes. Like Jeff said, there is a shot that you would not normally see anywhere on even streaming services these days. Anywhere, it's going to be interesting to see if anything comes of that. But it's interesting to see that happened. But the
Well,
context.
was this rated? Was this rated?
Oh,
Surely this was
I'm sure
rated.
it isn't. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sure
sure it isn't.
Shudder can show whatever. It is a paid service.
Sure. I don't think it's going to get in trouble or sued or anything like that. That's not where I'm going. But it is certainly something that you don't necessarily expect to find in the movie. But that aside, there's context for it, and in the context of it, it's appropriate to the storyline with our lead character and this character that it happens to. There's context, and it. So there's a lot of like you said, there's a lot of these shots where they're just kind of long transition shots between scenes where we're seeing the location or bugs or something, and it felt a little. It's an hour and 47 minutes, so it's not filler in trying to make it to 90 minutes. So it's not necessary. So it's a choice, but it feels more. I don't know. It feels somebody feeling like they're being special, not being talented, right? And I hate saying that, but it just didn't feel appropriate. There is something going on with like animals and bugs and nature, and I feel like there's a metaphor in there.
Like the wolf.
Yeah, the wolf
Clearly.
and the spider, and yeah, clearly the wolf, and the rabbits. So there's a lot of maybe succumbing to nature metaphor going on here, but there's a lot of other things happening. There's a lot happening, and I think that's part of the problem. Is the subtext in this is very thick, which can be interesting, but
It's unnecessary in this film. There's enough going on to where you don't need it.
I think so. And I was bored throughout most of the movie. I didn't really like our lead character, even though I felt sympathetic to why she becomes so unstable.
Well, because she's a jerk. She's a jerk.
And
her sister was right. Like she does things for herself, not because she's trying to, defend someone or be someone's victor. She really does it for herself. And that was very evident with what she did here. She thinks she is judge, jury, and executioner.
Yep, right.
I don't know who the hell she thinks she is. That's why I don't think she, if they made this film for her to be likable, they failed. Because
and I don't think that's important. I don't think
likable.
They're intending to. Do you?
Yeah, I don't either. No, I think that they meant for her to be more gray.
Yeah, it just makes for a very. It's a different type of experience watching this movie. It's very brutal in that respect. Because I don't know. I'm having a hard time with it. I didn't particularly enjoy this movie. And it isn't because of, like I said, the context. It's more of just the structure. I just did not enjoy how this film was put together. I don't know. Did you guys have the same kind of problem, or am I?
No, I found myself like super once it started getting into it, I found myself entertained. But like I said, the shots got steadier and I didn't mind the wolf. Okay, I did not mind the wolf because obviously it was super easy to, and it was more in your face. But, I didn't mind when they set the shots, oh God, why did they do that? Just some of the stuff that they didn't accentuate the movie, but it distracted me from the movie. And that's when you have failed at filmmaking. If you are going to distract your audience, you're doing a disservice to the story. And your job is to tell the story, not do some artistic stuff that you want because you think it looks cool. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a total jerk, but if I'm distracted, there's a problem because the story was riveting to me. It was a fascinating story.
Yeah, because
really,
there is a really beautiful shot of like a mirror shot of the landscape, and it's a drone shot, and it really is beautiful. But I don't know, the context is lost on me of what it was at.
But the fact that you remember that shot and you were thinking about it and you thought about the shot and not the movie is part of the issue. B-roll should be there. It can be good for transitions, but it should just enhance the story. I didn't mind the one of the spider where the sisters were talking because you still had them talking behind the spiders, and then they even mentioned the spider. Fine, I'll give you that one. But there was some that, yeah, I think they were just trying to. I feel like with this movie they were trying to push the boundaries. Hence why we have an erect penis on the screen for several minutes. They were pushing the boundaries, and fine, it is what it is. But I did find myself entertained alone with the story. I liked the way that it was not linear. I liked the way that it was told. I liked when he gave her his version of what happened. When she asked him, and what did I say? Don't stop. I really found that riveting. How it was his story and her story.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come down to it, when you find out the truth, it's like, oh, yikes. I think that was fascinating.
Well, I'm. So the structure bothered me, but it did not bore me. I thought it was very intriguing. I was trying to figure out, and I was good with it until almost the end.
And yeah,
and then at the end, I'm like going, but what about this? But what about that? I don't. Yeah. That where's is this before or is this after? There was, and there was a couple times where I wasn't sure of the location, although I figured it out, so there's not much exposition here in terms of letting you know what's going on. You hear it, you get it through the dialogue and the interactions between the people, but nobody really says, now I'm going to go stay in a motel or something. I'm mad. At least I didn't get that.
Oh,
or
I didn't.
Now I'm mad and I'm going to leave.
I didn't think she was going to stay at the. She wasn't going to stay at the hotel because she was mad. She went to stay at the hotel so she could use it for.
Oh, I think what Jeff might be talking about is that there's two characters that kind of over the length of the story kind of vanish. The sister vanishes and our lead's husband kind of vanish. They kind of get swept aside. The sister comes back.
Yeah.
The husband never does. And I never really, I lost that too. I missed when they exited. I didn't understand their exit from the story.
I didn't feel their exit from the story. I mean, I felt the ex-husband's exit from the story, but I felt like that was just a divorce. But the sister was always kind of there. I didn't, just because he came to visit her. I feel like his absence, his ultimate absence, was not that far from the party. If that makes sense. So there wasn't time to be quite so.
It seemed to me like the horror part of it took a fairly long period of time. And these other two characters, the sister and the husband, would have been going, where the hell are they? Where are these? Where did they go? How come they're gone this long? Overnight, wherever. and that's never talked about. That's why I figured I
I don't
looked at the timeline.
see.
I
I
think a
guess
little
for
bit
me, I
differently.
felt like it didn't need to be talked about. She looked tore up, and she was basically like kind of crying. And she had said, she actually even made. Oh, she asked at the beginning, "Where is he? He's supposed to be helping me with this. This is his party."
And you're
Do you
talking
not
about the
remember
sister,
that?
right? You're talking about the sister.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was talking to the sister. She said, "Where is he? This is his party. This is his
Okay.
family, not even my family. I'm making
So
this ice cream, and how am I supposed to do it all?" And so that was completely, yes, it was completely out of the timeline. But it was, yeah,
so
you
that's why
see?
I think maybe another watch might clue me in on that. Go, oh,
That's
that's
why I didn't feel that.
yeah.
That's why I'm not seeing what y'all are seeing, because I felt like it made sense there. It didn't mean that, um, yeah. I think that for her, it wasn't clearly with the way she's upset with him, but it also seems like maybe he's just,
I'd,
she's kind of mad at
I'd
him
I'd
and
still like
just,
to see
yeah.
it shown linearly.
Yeah.
I don't. It might
Yeah.
not work literally. So it may.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know.
There are
I
two
don't know.
Might
things
not
that I want to.
translate.
Yeah, there are two things I want to bring up before we wrap up. Is that while I was watching this, one, I realized that our lead actress is really, really good. Even though she's playing a character I
Hmm.
don't like,
Yeah,
I still feel
absolutely.
for her.
Yeah.
What happens to her and her reaction to it. I mean, I totally believe her, and the camera's on her a lot, and it is so complex and so layered. It's a really great performance, and if you see this film, that's what you're going to go for. Most people, some people will go for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second thing is, I don't know if either of you are familiar with a film called Audition. It's a
Of
Asian film,
course.
Yes.
and this
Yeah.
had some parallels to that. Not entirely. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think it has the core. At its core, it's not parallel. Just in what happens to men in this, and because what our character does
Eh,
here is it 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 comes when
he's
it
already gone though. So
yeah. But when it comes out of the blue with the bat, I was like, whoa, okay, all right, now I see where we're going, and yeah, so there's some stuff here. I don't know. I just
I
wanted to bring
mean,
those two up. I was thinking that while I was watching the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
No.
I mean, I don't know how long, or I'm assuming that, they just decided to meet up and he thought, oh, something was going to happen. And for him to freaking be so ignorant and allow her to freaking blindfold him, and he, duh, dude, duh.
Well, I don't know if anybody expects somebody to do that, but he was definitely
I
not
would.
not
You
getting the under
should.
not understanding the
You
situation at
should.
all.
No, he didn't.
Clearly.
He did not.
I mean, maybe I'm just too. I'm like, no. Mm-mm. She was really super creepy about it too. She's very intense.
Yeah. Now, so I think
After
you're the
she
only
had
one.
already accused him of raping her,
Mhm.
he was stupid. So, yes, he should have expected something. She
Right.
confronted him.
So I think you're the only one here that can really speak to this. But did the message that they're trying to deliver here, did it come across? Did they succeed in
I
delivering
don't
that
know what the
message?
message is,
Okay.
though. Well,
Well,
I mean,
it's about she has this encounter and nobody believes her. He doesn't own up. Sister doesn't believe her, and then she is betrayed and resorts. She's
I don't
fragile in the
feel
first
like
place.
she was betrayed by the sister per se. I mean,
Out in the lake.
the sister has no basis to believe her.
No, that's
Do you
true.
think that people don't lie? Because they do all the time. I'm not trying to say that obviously that is not the case here, but I'm just saying, like, I know, unfortunately, that I have seen that happen in cases. And so I guess for her sister, she has a very strange relationship with her sister.
Very
And
not healthy at all.
it's not
Right.
healthy at all. And I do think that there is a lot of competition on her part as well. And she acts like she knows better than everyone. She's arrogant. She's self-righteous. She's really a disgusting human being. So I wouldn't necessarily trust or believe her either. And I don't think that's a betrayal on the sister's part. I think she's just abhorrent.
No. Well,
Honestly.
she feels betrayed regardless, right? She
Yeah.
does.
She does feel betrayed, but she at least she didn't take it out on her sister, I guess. But the whole situation is so messy and sad because oh God, I don't know. It's just really it's you can't blame her at all for what happened or how it happened. But what's messed up about it is that I looked at his character and I feel like his character really thought he believed the way it happened as well. Ugh. It's just it's effed up. That's so effed up to me.
There's a lot of respect. Yeah.
That's what I don't like about it. I mean, I know, but I also love about the movie
Right,
because
right,
of
right,
that.
right.
You know, I found that
In
fascinating.
a way, that's sort of a brave way to present it in this, era of Me Too and what's going on now a lot in the media. It's sort of where things are going, and women are getting a lot more say and getting a lot more believed to present it in a way that can be taken either way is what it seemed like. Does that make
Yeah, it's
sense?
just it's so ugh, it's such a scary thing because I'm like the way that it was done and the way it was presented when it was like don't stop. I was like, oh my God. I hate that. I hate that because I feel like he really thought she was into. Oh, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible situation, but it's a movie, and that's why it was very entertaining. And I found it fascinating. I was like, oh, they really flipped everything on its head, and I hate that we gave away the twist,
Well,
but we didn't really, you know.
No, not really.
as
Yeah,
We are
as
giving a lot away, though.
yeah,
About to spoiler
maybe,
warning.
yeah, as manipulative or as detailed and worked out her whole process was. I could actually see that the entire thing was a manipulation in order to give her plausible
justification.
deniability. Does that make sense?
Oh,
That she really
yeah,
was manipulating him and working towards the end. I,
No,
yeah. It's
like I said, there's a lot to unpack with this film, and
yeah.
that's in its favor. But there's some structure issues that, for me, worked against me.
But I mean, for someone to plan all that and do all that, which I appreciate very much. So I'm just like,
You spent
she's awful. She's just awful. I but fascinating.
And I would never think
and
that of
thorough.
somebody in real life, to be honest with you. I would take their word for it. But in this particular case, that's the way they show it is really paradoxical, right? Or
Part of the
dichotomy.
yeah, part of the problem is she looks like she's just trying to control her sister and get her sister away from her husband. That's part of the issue as to why I think her sister wouldn't believe her. She's like, "Why don't you come start a new life with me? Why don't you come with me? Come be with me?" And it's like, are you just trying to, come in between us? It's the way she's doing it does come off as being, manipulative. Like she's trying to manipulate her sister. And one of the things that he said and is since the sister started eating meat or whatever, he's like, oh, you're just upset because she doesn't do what you tell her to anymore. So see, there's this whole reasoning behind why I think her sister wouldn't believe her. And I bet you if she came to her sister and said it about any other person in the world, she'd believe it. But because it was her own husband and because of the whole situation and what was happening, she's like, ugh, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. Yeah, there's context there, which is
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack, but we need to wrap this up. I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation. Let's do this. We need to give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Oh my,
Yeah.
there's a lot to choose from. for certain. All right, but before we do, if you're still listening, we thank you so much for. And we hope you're enjoying our review here and our other reviews. There's plenty of them there to choose from. If you would like to help us out, it's easy to do and free. You just hit the subscribe button or share with a friend. Both of them help tremendously. If you want to get a little more involved, hit the like button, the dislike button, hit the bell if you want to be reminded, or leave us a comment. And I'm sure there's a lot to comment about this film.
Everyone must watch this film.
You think everybody must watch it?
Absolutely. I think I think everyone should watch this film. I'm so curious about people's opinions on this.
Oh yeah,
I think they're going to be everywhere.
There's going to be people that are strongly for it and strongly against it. It's going to be interesting. All right. We also want to take a moment to thank our patrons over at Patreon, who's without their patronage, we would not be able to do not only this podcast, but Horror News Radio, Decades of Horror, and Heroes and Droids. Thank you all so very, very much. All right, let's do this. Crystal, you are up first. Give us your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Okay. Like I said, you must watch this movie. This movie starts. You might not like it at the beginning, like I did. You might be distracted by whatever they're trying to do artistically. But like I said, I found it super entertaining once I got into it. Like to the point where I was, dare I say it, riveted by by the story and by the way it was told and the way everything unfolded and the gore. I loved the gore. I found it quite pleasurable. And the penis was fascinating. I'm going to be thinking on that for a while. Yeah.
Another box blurb.
I mean, I have to agree with y'all. I think someone was obviously like, I'll do it, because it's pretty impressive. Anyway, I'm going to give this a 3.75.
Nice.
Yeah, and God, there's a lot of scenes I really liked. I guess my favorite scene is when we find out the truth of what happened that night at the fire. Because that just totally jacked me up, blew my mind. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in. Like this, that's when the story just totally, yeah, it's interesting. That was it. I know it's not the gore or whatever, but it was fascinating to me.
All right. Yes, there's a lot of fascinating things going on. All right, Jeff Mohr, sir, what is your final thoughts, your score 1 to 5, and your favorite scene?
Well, as often happens, my opinions are changing somewhat as we talk, and I'm becoming more intrigued. So I'm gonna check this out again because I do want to kind of take a look at the timeline again, because now that you said a couple things, Crystal, that made me think,
yeah. Okay, so remember she said who's gonna make the ice cream, and then she said I will, and that's what she's stirring. It's not cement.
It's ice cream.
It was ice cream, yeah. So
I thought it was porridge.
I'm gonna go 3.5. Which is higher than I was originally going to do, but I'm going to go 3.5. And for favorite scene, I'm sorry, just from the point of view of somebody that loves, sort of Rube Goldberg devices and planning. Good planning is her whole process with her sister's husband.
Well, you can't take the whole process.
Okay. Yeah. I'll take.
You're taking the whole thing.
Screwing the thing. I'll take screwing the thing on the. Rafter.
The winch.
The winch. Mm-hmm. Got to winch that winch up.
Yeah, well, you guys are giving more away now. You're giving more away.
Yeah, we're spelling bebop out of this. All right. Yeah. So for me, this movie did not. It's just not a fun watch, not a pleasurable watch. It made me want to go watch some old Godzilla movies or something to get this out of my because it is. It's just this. It isn't the kind of. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. Although it has great things going for it. Like, there is, like Crystal said, is really a strong argument. The acting alone on our
Oh
lead,
yeah.
or at least our lead, and there's a shock value in this film, and for that, and but this this movie made me feel icky about just watching it. It just, I don't
I
know. Is
think that
that,
was the point.
but yeah, I do
Yeah.
think it was a point. But and I think that's, I don't know. It was like we watch a lot of horror movies, and then some are just meant to be visceral and fun, and others are meant to really get in there and expose the ick of it. And this one is the latter for sure. And I just didn't enjoy it. The storytelling threw me, but and not and I like non-linear storytelling. I mean, that's sometimes that's much have, right? But I just didn't enjoy this one. It, for me, the scenery is often the same. The characters are always the same, so it became difficult to figure out what was going on, and I got lost where some characters were, and why they were where they were and stuff like that. And I don't know. It just, this movie wore on me. I will admit though, the baseball bat shocked the hell out of me. I did not know where we were going with it. You guys probably did, but to me, I was like, "What is she? What is it? What are we getting? Is this Skinamax now?" And then all of a sudden, it isn't. And yeah, and from there, it just becomes this exercise in just going through the plan, and I don't know, it was exhausting. I but like you said, fascinating. It was, what a this movie. I I'm I'm actually raising my score, and I'm raising it to a 2, just to give you an idea of how much this movie did not sit well with me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's all on the performance of our lead, really.
Wow.
But yeah, this movie is not one I would have a hard time recommending. I don't understand why you guys are, and it's fine. But I just like, this movie.
Oh, I think it's gonna. I think that it's definitely. So I think people are gonna feel that way more than just you are gonna feel that way. I think some people, the moment they get to the peen, they're gonna be like off.
Yeah, I'm out. Right? There's other people going to wake up.
Yes, well, exactly. That's when I went. Wait, what? What is happening? What am I watching?
And,
Clearly, I'm missing
yeah,
something.
and this film does something that I really hate vomit scenes, and this one has. People vomit in movies all the time now, and this one has. I mean, this one probably has the most reasonable.
It's
vomit
appropriate.
season.
Yeah, it's
Right.
appropriate.
Right,
Yeah,
but
I
at the same
mean,
time, I was just like, oh god, and then to find out later that it's actually real. I'm
that
like,
totally makes sense to me. I'd want to
I
do it
don't
real
want
too.
to see somebody really do that. Oh man. So, but that's not my favorite scene. I don't know why I brought that up. What is my favorite scene in this film is just, can I just go with the baseball bat? Just that
Sure.
moment, just that whole moment, and the fact that she wrapped like cardboard around it or something to give it a little bit
Tape.
more of a tape. It was just like, okay, this
Might have been
this
cardboard and tape. I don't know.
yeah, there's a plot here. Let's pay attention. There's a plot here. All right, and and things go really batshit. And there's a moment when like somebody is on the lake outside the door, and
Hmm.
things get a little scary or hairy for her. So this film. What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? I don't know. It'd be curious to see how much crap I get for not liking this movie. Am I gonna get crap?
No,
for not
I
liking
think
this
it's
movie?
fair. I think it's fair. I think this is. I think this is that kind of movie. I don't think it's fair. I just because I liked it, I could totally see why people would not like this movie. It deals with a tough subject matter too. This could easily be a trigger for someone, so they could hate it just for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Could be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Our review
Yay.
for Violation, streaming now on Shudder. Can we just stop for a moment and say thank you, Shudder? They bring us
Yeah.
weekly movies on their service
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are amazing. They're all over the place. A variety of different types of subject matter and approaches to horror, from documentaries to something really serious like this to crazy bonker movies to foreign films, all kinds of things. And
Velocipaster, they had, yeah. I
if
mean,
they
come on,
need
so
to put that
funny.
on it. But I really appreciate what Shudder's doing, and I just want to say out loud to say thank you. All right.
Agreed.
I guess it's time to say goodbye. Jeff, Crystal, thank you for joining me on
Thanks
this
for having us.
interesting
Yay.
conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you, buddy.
All right. And with that, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Nah.
Gruesome Magazine.